Welcome back and thank you for joining us in this edition of the Topical Discussion. I am Simon Kagwanjala, and this morning we'll be weighing into the ensuing debate in the wake of the disqualification of a number of candidates in the MP race. Walukaga Matthias becomes the latest victim of the onslaught coming from the Electoral Commission. Byabakama, citing the law, has made quite a number of decisions which have left a bitter aftertaste in the mouths of quite a number of people. But what's the bigger picture on these denominations? And what's the story in Walukaga's disqualification? What does it mean to the National Unity Platform? Well, in the run-up to the 2026 election. Joining me this morning is Council Benjamin Katana, the Treasurer of the National Unity Platform. Good to have you and a very good morning.
The pleasure is mine, Simon, and good morning to you and the viewers of this show.
How shaken is the National Unity Platform in the wake of the decision of Justice Byabakama?
Well, I think this is not the first decision of this nature. We have had similar decisions, especially targeting the opposition members of parliament. So while it is unfortunate and unfair, it is not surprising considering that the trajectory has been very clear. Because when you look at the complaints that the Electoral Commission has entertained, I don't think there's any NRM person who has been affected by these decisions. Even when some of them clearly in the public court, you saw people questioning there was a debate on the qualifications of the MP for Maogora North, MP for Wemiyaga, to the extent that even institutions like UNEB refused to release records of these individuals. So for me, I would not want to look at the particular case of Busiro East in isolation of how Electoral Commission has conducted this matter. What we know for now is that there is a grand strategy, and of course with connivance of Electoral Commission, by whatever means possible, to make sure that they reduce the number of opposition and particularly NUP candidates. In fact, recently on a show here, and one of the leaders of NRM said they are targeting NUP candidates. In some cases, they have bribed people to get out of the race. I think you have been following the events in Western Uganda. In some cases, they are using authority like they have done with this particular one. And in other constituencies, you remember the cases of people who are disqualified by the same Electoral Commission, claiming that Kagwanjala signed for Katana and also signed for another person. On matters that require signature, for example.
Yes. But in the case of what?
There are matters that require even a handwriting expert, but the Electoral Commission sat without involving handwriting expert, and people were disqualified on such grounds. So for me, I would not want to, because the matter of Walukaga, first of all, the tribunal of Electoral Commission has made a pronouncement. The candidate, Walukaga and NUP, contest the decision.
Yeah, no is more rattled by the Walukaga decision.
No, that
more
is
than all the other decisions.
No, that is a wrong conclusion. Because I'm from NUP and I'm giving you the accurate position. So I think what is informing you, informing your opinion may not be accurate, because we treat all these cases in the similar manner and attribute to them similar weight. So there is no one case that is more rattling. In any case, for us, for example, that constituency is different, for example, from the ones in Western Uganda where people are bribed from the constituency. Because for
the Mbarara North?
Yes. I don't think, for example, in Busiro East, NRM stands any chance. We have many options of people we can back in that race. So I don't think it stands any chance. Either way, we'll find a way of defeating it. So it is not as worrying as in those cases where the only person who has left in the race is an NRM candidate.
Yeah, but when you look specifically on the case of Walukaga, Did the party ever do due diligence in the vetting process?
Certainly. That's why Electoral Commission nominated him. Because the Electoral Commission, just like the NUP Election Management Committee, based itself on documentation from National Council of Higher Education, which is the authority on such matters.
But after scrutiny...
Also based itself on documentation from universities. Because as a matter of fact, Warukaga is a university student at St. Lawrence University, I think in the 3rd year. And he was admitted on the basis of the mature entry qualifications, which he presented. Yeah,
his mature entry certificate expired.
Like I mentioned, for me, I think it would be shallow to focus this debate on a particular case, which is
it's inevitable.
Which is being handled through the appropriate legal channels. Because this show is not going to make a decision whether he's reinstated or not. But I would want to look at the general landscape of how Electoral Commission is being used as a weapon to deal with popular opposition candidates that have not yielded to the machinations of bribery.
Isn't it ironical that you accuse the Electoral Commission of being sucked into this kind of mischief when just the other day the Electoral Commission cleared Senyonyi? Who between Senyonyi and Warukaga is a bigger threat?
Well, I don't know the weighing scale you use to determine who is a threat and who is not a threat. But I think one thing you need to understand, especially about the concept of state capture, is that in the matrix of how decisions are arrived at, who controls institutions, it depends on the particular interest at that time and who is pushing it. But again, I always use this example that if you look at, you know the organism called Amoeba. That's how a dictatorship operates. It keeps changing shape. It keeps changing outlook. So you may, even today, you may go and have a protest in town and they will not beat you. The next day you'll have a protest and they will beat you. It doesn't mean that now there is freedom of expression, there is freedom of movement. Because they must be able to confuse people. For example, now for you, you seem already confused that because they cleared Senyonyi, then they are doing things in the right way. But sometimes the intention is to make sure that they confuse you.
Yeah, but when you look at the merits that the Electoral Commission, the grounds that the Electoral Commission cites, there is some water. They're talking of an expired certificate that Warukaga submitted, and that ordinarily disqualifies him.
Expired is in risk. Like I mentioned, Simon, for me, I think it would be, I wouldn't spend an hour to come here and discuss disqualification or not disqualification of Warukaga. That is for his lawyers. For me, I'm here to discuss the landscape of Electoral Commission being used as a weapon.
I think you are equally being
some candidates.
But number two, speculative.
But number two, but I'm not being speculative because I've given you facts. There is a landscape, there is a trajectory. But number two, even if you want to specifically discuss the question of expiry, because the expiry of that certificate is in respect to admission or enrollment. Once a person is enrolled, you cannot continue going to National Council of Higher Education to get that certificate, to the institution that issued that particular, to keep getting every 6 months. The expiry is in respect to enrollment. And he enrolled. I have mentioned that he's now in 3rd year, studying at a university because he enrolled. So by application of, by operation of that enrollment, the certificate cannot expire.
Okay, what are the requirements for someone to stand? You
Equivalent.
submit
USCE
valid,
or equivalent.
You've
or
submitted valid academic credentials. Warukaga submitted an invalid academic credential, and that is a certificate.
But I have explained to you, Simon, that the expiry of that certificate is in respect to enrollment. Once you enroll, then it cannot expire. You cannot say that it has expired. But when you are going to be enrolled, when they look at it, they say, no, by the time you need to go and sit another mature entry exam because this one has expired. But once you enroll, then that hurdle is jumped. And indeed, he enrolled. But like I mentioned, for me, I think this is just a microcosmic representation of what we have termed as a grand scheme to disadvantage NUP candidates. Like I mentioned, there have been many approaches. In some cases, people have been bribed to get out of the race. In some cases, people have been disqualified on flimsy grounds. This is one of them. In other cases, they said, no, this person is NRM, how could he have seconded you as a candidate of NUP? And they have been disqualified. So it is, and I've given you an example. If you think it is not discrimination or unfair, there are complaints about, similar complaints about people of NRM. Do you know of any NRM person who has been disqualified on such grounds?
Well, very interesting. I would like to bring in another legal mind, Counsel Peter Okello Jabweli. Good to have you and a very good morning. Good morning. How do we explore the depth of the new trend of disqualifications, which the Electoral Commission has chosen to call denominations?